You're listening to The Mountain Gardener with local expert Ken Lane. Mountain gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and garden advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now welcome back to The Mountain Gardener.
And you have tuned into The Mountain Gardener. Your host, Ken Lane, here every week talking about the landscapes of northern Arizona. And we are in full spring. Everything's starting to look good. Now, I've done a lot of gardening this week in my own gardens. And so I want to share some of the things I've noticed in my own garden. So if it's happening in my yard, it's probably happening in yours, which is happening in your neighbors. It's not like you're unique in your backyard. Only the aphids hit your yard, and only the soil in your yard is hard, and only the wind blows in your yard. It happens to all of us. And so right now, as we start the June, the summer season, we'll start to see the warmest weather and the driest and the windiest. So there's a prevailing southwest wind that doesn't stop day and night. It just blows. So that tender new growth sometimes gets damaged, gets stressed out. And so just keep your plants alive. All you want the next few weeks, just baby them. Don't overwater them. Don't overbaby them. Just keep them alive. If they look a little wind-torn or hot, that's okay. The monsoons are right around the corner. And I know you're mocking me because you think, oh, it'll never rain again. It always, the humidity goes up in July, about July 4th. Always the wind stops blowing. That's just to have cloud cover, humidity increase, and that wind to stop, your plants will respond. And so we're just trying to make sure your irrigation is on. You're tuning that. You got to tune it up. Make sure you're watching it carefully, adjusting it as you need, and keep them alive. If plants got a little wind stressed or tattered, that's okay. Just get them through this month, and they will take off with new growth as that monsoon or that summer rain comes. We actually need, the way the mountains work, it's kind of freaky. I don't understand it. I'm sure you climatologists and folks, you get this, but we need the heat to pull, almost like a vacuum. It pulls the moisture up from Mexico to us. It's almost like a magnet. Without the heat, it gets delayed. So you almost want it to get in the high 80s, 90s in the mountains. Now, thank goodness we don't live in the valley. We call them flatlanders here at the Garden Center. The Phoenix, Scottsdale, Tucson, the desert folks, Palm Springs, flatlanders. They look up to the mountains and wish they could be there. But that's why we're up here. It's beautiful. Even in summer, yes, we're hot, but your plants, they're not. They're okay. What really gets them is that dryness with that wind, the aridness with that tender new growth. I tell you, the roses, are they beautiful? Are they stunning right now? They live for this transition from spring to summer. They love this bright days, the dryness. They live for this. So that's why we grow roses, really, better than anyone else in the country, and they're easier to grow. Because we're dry, they don't get the black spot, they don't get as many leaf diseases. We get a few aphids, but it's not constant pressure. We don't have June bugs like the Midwest does. It's just pretty easy to grow them here. If you've not tried roses or you were discouraged by trying to grow roses in other parts of the country because they were just problematic, try them again. It would be well worth it. In fact, if you're new to roses or just new to gardening, every landscape, every home needs to have at least one rose. And the easiest rose to grow ever, but bar none, are not what your grandparents used to grow. They're the shrub roses. These are what your great-great-grandparents grew. We figured out in the last few decades how to graft roses onto different rootstock, and so we're creating new life. That's where you get these long stem roses from, the hybrid teas, the floribundas, the grandifloras, the ones that are mentioned in the garden magazines. Those are not hard to grow, but they're more finicky. But a shrub rose is not grafted. It's on its own rootstock. In fact, we take a cutting and we just root it up right out, and it comes right up. It's super easy to grow. The most famous of all of the shrub roses are the knockout roses, like boxing, knockout, 1, 2, poo, poo. The negative with knockout is they've been done so many years, they're kind of boring. Let's face it, pink. How many variations of pink do you need? It's just boring. We need something different, knockout. Well, a competitor came along, and they're really giving the knockout rose a run for their money. Look at the first edition. That's the name. It's put out by, what is that name? Bailey Nursery? I believe it's Bailey Nurseries out of Minnesota, created this super cold hardy shrub rose. It's called First Edition. It has a bloom on it that's almost the same size as a regular hybrid tea rose, a normal rose you're used to. It's got many petals, so it's got this almost peony look to it, like your hybrid tea or Floribunda roses. It's what you really want, whereas the knockout roses, they're more single petals. They aren't as big. They aren't as fluffy, and they don't look like a peony. But the First Edition does, and get this, they figured out how to introduce fragrance into them. So now we've got a super easy to care for rose. It's grown on its own rootstock, so it makes it hardier. It's cold hardy, colder hardy than any hybrid tea ever dreamt of being. Doesn't get diseases. It's fragrant. It's just a really great, easy to prune. It's a really good way to go. If you're new to roses, look at the First Edition roses. They'll really surprise you in a pleasant way. If you're a rosarian and you just want something new and funky and new and different and something no one else has ever had, look at the First Edition roses. I took one home myself, and I love roses. I have a lot of roses, but it's one of those new things you're going, wow, I've never seen this before, and I'm growing mine in a pot. You don't have to go in the ground, although roses like to be in the ground, but they don't have to. If you got a big pot, maybe 20 inches across, 20 inches tall, or a little bigger, something they would grow for years and years and years in that type of pot. The main thing with all of these summer blooming shrubs, so most roses, all the roses we carry here, at least at Waters Garden Center, are repeat blooming. They'll flush 3 or 4 or 5 times through the growing season, unless you put them in the shade. Roses do not like the shade. You really want to have them in it where they have at least, I would say, 6 hours of sun exposure throughout the day. It doesn't matter if it's morning, evening, even if it's under a tree, but you get the morning, midday rest, and afternoon, the sunset. As long as you have a cumulative at least 6 hours of sun exposure to create that photosynthesis, to make the starch, to bring up the sugars, to make the flower. It needs the sun to make the flowers. Otherwise, it gets long and stretchy and lays over and reaches for the sun. It's reaching for the brighter spots in the yard. So that seems to be inside secret. We are going to touch on summer blooming shrubs, probably a little later in the segment in the show. But all of the summer bloomers. Well, let me see. No, I'll mention a few of them that love the shade too. So we'll get you all of the summer bloomers, sun and shade. Maybe segment 5 after the bottom of the hour. So lots going on. Let me just mention too, as we close this segment, pruning. Can you prune right now? I'm telling you, I had a big oak tree here at the garden center. The branches were so long. It was reaching down towards the ground, and it was starting to impede at least the taller, Nordic-looking men in my nursery. It was dinging them in the head, including me. So I went, that thing's got to be limbed up. It is okay to prune anything you want, anytime you want, up to 10% of the foliage mass. If you're doing heavier pruning than that, then you should really wait till winter. But summer, right now, it's hot. The book says you shouldn't prune. I find you can prune just fine right now, but I was just taking a few limbs off. And the tree looks better. It's not dinging them in the head. If something's encroaching your walkway, prune it back. If it's needs a haircut, give it one. It's okay. You can do that any time of the year, especially now as it's flushing that tall new growth. Okay, so we've got Lisa Waters Lane coming in with your garden questions right after this.
You're listening to local garden expert Ken Lane, also known as the Mountain Gardener. Ken can be found throughout the week at Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Listen each week as he answers timely garden questions unique to mountain landscapes.
Hi, Lisa with the plants of the week and our instant Raywood ash.
Raywoods are known for their handsome fall foliage that turns colors of red to royal purple. Just stunning.
The leaves have a fine texture which add a softness to harsh rock yard.
At $120, these instant trees are magnificent. 12 feet tall with a 6-foot spread. You won't have to wait for this tree to grow up.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, where people who love instant trees, they love to shop. In a new place, it's difficult to know who to trust, how to get help at the house, and which nursery will simply do what they say they'll do.
At Waters Garden Center, we're here to help, in the landscape at least.
Our team of plant ambassadors know your neighborhood, the plants that add color, increase privacy, and add fragrance and beauty.
And we can show you exactly how to plant locally, or we have teams to do all the work for you.
We are Ken and Lisa Lane, and we guarantee our plants will live up to every promise here at Waters Garden Center.
You're listening to The Mountain Gardener with local expert Ken Lane. Mountain gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and garden advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now welcome back to The Mountain Gardener.
And we have Lisa Waters Lane in the studio with us. She brings your garden questions. It's just fun hanging out in a small space with your favorite gardener.
Oh, she's sweet.
And I'm your favorite gardener too, right?
Oh, of course you are.
Yeah.
You're my only gardener, but yeah.
My name is Juan.
No.
What's a good Italian name?
Oh, that's a good Tony.
Tony.
Anthony.
Anthony the gardener.
Yeah, we're not very good, are we?
No. Like the producer, like the station owner said, Ken, don't go into voices on this show.
Oh,
please don't.
How funny. Yeah, it's probably not a good thing.
Thanks, Edward. Tough. Can't help it. Lisa makes me do it.
No.
We did have a good party.
Yes.
For Grapes for Grades. The Rotary Club got together and had wine and cheese and gathering, and we're planning June 24th. It's this month. It's right here. And so they're planning, they've got the sponsors. Mm-hmm. In fact, the Math and Reading Clinic started this week. So they fund, that club funds that for the kids to keep them kind of polished through the summer. Great. So they get their reading skills, their math skills up top notch. And so they're having a Grapes for Grades event here at the Garden Center, because I'm a Rotarian. We support them totally. We give them a garden center free of charge. We help them with our marketing stuff. We sell tickets here at the Garden Center. We help them but all the sponsors are in, and now they're just ticket sales. And so we get together. Part of the fun is just to have spouses get together and just fellowship and kind of strategize and sip the wines and make sure they're good enough.
Got to taste them, right?
That's right. It's very fun. I love it.
It's fun. So are there still tickets available for the Grapes for Grades on the 24th?
There are. Right now, I think you can buy them online, but it's a bit tedious. I tried and I went, nah. Okay. They're available at Olson's Grain or Olson's for Healthy Animals. True Value, Prescott True Value here in town, and then at Waters Garden Center. We've got tickets here. They're $50 each. Come, you'll get your money's worth, and it's all the expenses, all that money, every dime you spend goes right to that function, right to the kids. And so we've got enough sponsors that have covered all the expenses so that when patrons come and just support it, the money goes 100%. Goes to the kids, which is great.
It really is beautiful. I mean, most people experience the garden center during the day. Yeah. But in the evening, it just has a different feel. The smells are stronger. It's just beautiful in the evening.
It's a garden party because the Waters Garden Center kind of feels like a botanical garden. That's one thing we see in our Google reviews over and over. I just like to go for therapy. It feels like a garden. I like taking a piece home. Well, it feels like that, only you're hanging out with friends and family. It's bring friends, bring your neighbors. Oh, yeah. It's a fun event. I think I just saw one of the Rotarians is donating his Austrian home for a week free of charge. In the Alps, he showed a picture. It's spectacular. Highest bidder takes it.
Wow.
I mean, there's things like that. Unlimited golf. There's golf like crazy, of course. But
It's always golf.
Always golf.
Yeah.
I'm not a golfer, but I
Right.
am an Austrian guy.
It's a very fun event. And it's fun to come with friends, with your neighbors. You just grab some chairs, you chillax. Usually the band, they have a really good... Is it the steel drums again this year?
No, I think they got a different... I don't know who it is.
Okay.
I can't keep track.
Yeah, but it's fun. It's nothing like hardcore, rock music.
Here's what we have. There's so many tickets being sold that, not to scare you off, but it is 2 acres. I mean, we do have a big place. You can hold a lot of people. They actually, because it's for the schools... They have a school bus. They're going to curry people from Abaya Judd to the garden center in a school bus, an actual school bus, back and forth to kind of drop off. I mean, it's kind of catered
that's
VIP.
Wonderful because, the parking can get creative. So
Gets really easy that way. So it's kind of fun to see a school bus pull in. Anyway, that's...
Okay.
This week, what are our garden questions for we?
Okay, our first question is from Michael in Prescott Valley. He wants to know, is it too late to put in grass from seed, or would it be better to put in sod?
You can do both. I mean, ideally, either one. The best window is March and October. That's your best, without question, because it's very cold nights, warm days. And that's what grass likes. Right now, either one you can start. You'll just have to watch your watering more closely. So you'll probably water at dawn, just kind of hydrate things so that it goes into the heat of the day, wet. And you'll probably pulsate that. Usually most clocks have 4 times you can come on during the day. You're probably using all 4 of those. So you're waiting a couple hours, come on again for 10 minutes. Okay, wait 2 hours, come on again for 2 minutes. You're keeping that seed bed or that sod bed moist. You can go ahead and do that now. I would encourage... everyone knows the Prescott Courthouse. They call it the Prescott Mix, which is basically bluegrass and ryegrass blend. It's a high water user, high maintenance, high mowing. It's high. It needs a lot. Right now, if you're going into the heat of summer, fescues, tall fescue uses less water. It's especially a tall fescue does better. I mean, we've got one in the store. It's called Heat and Drought Tolerant Grass. It's an evergreen grass. I mean, it stays green through most of the winter, and then just uses less water. Very deep-rooted grass. But go ahead, come see us. We've got a handout. We can kind of walk you through that. But yes, you can do it now.
Okay, comes down to watering now.
Yeah.
All right. Sandy in Prescott wants to know, how much sun can a hydrangea handle? She would love to have one, but doesn't have a whole lot of sun or shade. Sorry.
Probably move to hibiscus, roses, crepe myrtles, things that love the sun. Spireas will take the sun. Viburnums will take the sun. There's so many things that love the sun. A hydrangea, it's amazing how much they can take. But once you get to about 11 o'clock in the afternoon, and then
in the morning,
in the morning till about 2 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they're wilty and they're complaining and they're bending over and they're just big crybabies about the sun. I would say, don't get something better, different.
I would agree. But if you have a spot, they're beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
I was walking this morning and saw a neighbor's yard, faces east, and it's under a tree too.
Perfect.
Beautiful blue hydrangea. It was gorgeous.
We've got the pink one in the back. It's stunning in that container up on a deck. It's just beautiful.
Right.
So you can have them, but not in full sun.
Right. Okay. Our next question is from Tom. He bought some beautiful tree roses from us and would like to keep them blooming throughout the summer, wants to know how to keep them blooming. And then he also wants to know, do they need extra protection in the wintertime?
Okay. That's a lot. So fertilize, they're heavy feeders. I would say fertilize them with the all-purpose plant food. We make a food here at the garden center. The main ingredient is cottonseed meal. Roses love that. So if you sprinkle that around about every 6 to 8 weeks, it'll bloom like crazy. Now for us, we grow a lot of roses in containers. My container gardens, I sprinkle that, but containers drain so well. I also, a couple times a month, I'll give them Flower Power. It's a liquid fertilizer that we make. That I'll give it some of that. I'll add it to my watering when we fertilize, or when we're going to have a big party, I'll give it some of that a couple weeks prior to the party, just so they're in full bloom. Now the winter question. If they're in Prescott, no. Well, Prescott has a lot of elevations. How do you answer that? Highland Pines, Groom Creek, these ridge lines around Prescott, I would say maybe it's good to protect those. So to wrap that top graft, if it freezes solid, it can become just regular rose. It'll come back from the roots and just be not a tree rose anymore. Right. So they have two grafts. The one at the ground is usually pretty safe. It's that one exposed at the tree level that can be frozen and damaged. Many folks will wrap that in burlap or just to protect it, some extra protection. We have not seen a sub-zero winter in over a decade.
Long time.
It's been a long time. I would say most years, don't even worry about it. It's not a big deal for most parts of Prescott. The valley areas, Prescott Valley, Dewey, Humboldt, Cordis Junction, Cottonwood, Camp Verde, Sedona, no worries at all. Kingman, no worries. White Mountains, okay, yeah, worries. Flagstaff worries. You got to protect it and insulate it. Other than that, I wouldn't worry about it. So we got that covered. Good question on roses. Hey, be right back with Ken and Lisa Lane and the Mountain Gardeners.
The Mountain Gardener, your source for garden advice right for the higher elevation of Arizona with local garden expert and the Mountain Gardener himself, Ken Lane. Listen in every week for Ken's tips, tricks, and techniques that are guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season.
Hi, Lisa here with the plants of the week and our Sunshine Daydream Abelia.
Pink and white flowers continually cover this brightly yellow shrub. Very pretty.
Requires less maintenance than all the other cultivars with a compact, creamy foliage.
At $34, it's a garden designer's dream bloomer that takes heat, wind, and blooms even longer with a bit of midday shade.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott. For people who love easy perennials, love to shop. I grew up in the family business with my 3 sisters, and I've raised 4 of my own kids in the same garden center. Waters isn't just another business in town. This is part of our home, an extension of who we are. My family spends more time here than we do at home. It's basically an extension of our living room. We just have more friends over than most. My name is Lisa Waters Lane, and you'll feel welcomed, peaceful, and at home here at Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road, here in Prescott.
You're listening to The Mountain Gardener with local expert Ken Lane. Mountain gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and garden advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now welcome back to The Mountain Gardener.
Now, I was doing quite a bit of planting this week in the backyard and the front yard. I've got raised beds. I'm trying to convert. I lost a number of plants this winter. I mean, just so dry. And I had one of my irrigation clocks go bad. So it just stopped watering. I don't know when. I don't know how long plants went without watering. But it's amazing the ones that lived. I'm going, we need more of you. And then some of them died, and I said, less of you. So I'm switching some things out. And then I've replaced the irrigation clock, of course. I've got these. It's amazing. If you've not shopped for irrigation clocks, it is so exciting. If you're a tech, first adapter, you love technology, Wi-Fi connection, running things with your phone, smart homes. They have irrigation clocks. I've got one from Spruce Irrigation. It's tied into our weather. So it satellite feeds and automatically communicates with the clock. So if it's humid, it goes, cut back that irrigation cycle and go to 90% instead of 100% because the transpiration rate says it won't need that much. It's doing calculations for you. Then it's got a very sophisticated app that you can program on your phone, your laptop, or your desktop, where you can just program the phone, your clock. So easy. In fact, there is no interface on the actual irrigation controller. The wires go out to the valves, but that controller is all done by a huge LED screen called your desktop or your phone. So you program it. It does anything you want. I could still tie my rain sensor into it, so I swapped that out. But here's the thing. It also has moisture sensors that creates a Wi-Fi net or broadcast out in the yard. So now you can put sensors directly, not wired, They're doing it by Wi-Fi, by your cable modem connections, and it's talking to the clock on, nope, don't water. Plenty of moisture. Look, there's 40% of moisture in the soil. Don't do that. It has been amazing. It took about 2 weeks for the clock to kind of learn what I wanted, and I still have one hanging basket. So I've got one valve just for the flower baskets out front. One hanging one that's really exposed, south exposure, full sun, wind, it dries out fast. It was having a hard time keeping up with that. I actually put a saucer underneath that hanging basket, and it made a difference. So some moisture would go through that soil, through the hanging basket, collect, I basically created a self-watering pot by putting a saucer and setting my plant inside the saucer. And all of a sudden I got, the clock said, oh, got this. And the plants agreed. It's been really good. It's only been a month. I'll see if it actually reduces my water bill. I'm not sure yet. It's too soon to tell. I'll report. I'll let you know what happened. So this is brand new technology. I did have to make a few service calls, and they did modify the program or change the app because of the calls, and they made the application better. But I really like that. So the new clocks coming out are amazing, what you can do with them. Very interactive, not the old school stuff where it's analog. It's gone all digital. Anyway, what was I doing with that? Oh, planting. When you're planting, you don't rely on just that drip emitter to water that new plant. It is not enough. To get through June, if you have new plants, you should be dragging the hose out and supplement watering that thing to give your drip system a boost, at least until the rains come. Your drip system is just a lifeline. You got super dehydrated, you fainted and collapsed in the driveway, your neighbors found you, called 911, the ambulance took you to the hospital, stuck an IV in you, and now you're rehydrating with some saline. Your plants, that's all that drip system is. It's just you need more than just that. To really get healthy and back into the game. Your plants are kind of the same way. You need to give it a big drink of water at least once a week. I would say if you had your drip system running twice a week, just kind of a long time, give it like an hour, 2 hours worth of run time, and then let it rest for 2, 3, 4 days, and then run it again. That's a good way to water new trees and shrubs, at least. Vines, fruit trees, roses. That's good for that. I would still supplement that watering by hand, at least with one of those cycles. So let the drip system take care of one of those, but once a week, at least through the heat of this June dry, windy season, give it a drink by hand as well. It will make a difference, and it will reduce the stress level on your plants. Now, with that being said, it's hot and it's dry. Don't overwater things. I've had too many customers this week. I don't know. People don't listen. Ugh. Plants do not like water every single day. Big plants with deep roots. If you've got a tree, let's say 15-gallon tree, and it's got a 1.5 to 2 foot deep root system, there is no way that 2 foot of soil dried out in a day. It's impossible. It can't happen. Maybe a tomato, a little tiny piece of lettuce or some flowers. Yeah, they're a little root structure, but a tree, a vine with a foot deep root structure, a grape or something, it does not like to be watered every day. Let it breathe in between those water cycles, and you'll find you have a deeper, more robust, a better root structure on those plants than watering every day. Again, twice a week for brand new things, once a week for established plants is a great water cycle for trees and shrubs. Be right back.
The Mountain Gardener, your source for garden advice right for the higher elevation of Arizona with local garden expert and the Mountain Gardener himself, Ken Lane. Listen in every week for Ken's tips, tricks, and techniques that are guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season.
Hi, Ken with the Plants of the Week and our native Quaking Aspen.
Few experiences capture the magic of nature so well as a quaking aspen dancing in the slightest of breeze.
You'll love their unique bark as it shines white with brand new leaves celebrating spring's arrival.
Plant a row along your driveway or simply as a focal point in the yard.
Hand-picked specimens start at under $100, but we have huge showy models as well.
Waters Garden Center, where people who love their quaking aspen, they love to shop.
Ouch! Aw, man, another rock! Hi, I'm Rusty. You know, the shovel you're destroying trying to dig that hole? Sure, I get it. You got these beautiful plants at Waters Garden Center. Waters asked if they could plant them for you. But no, you had to do it yourself, even though they would plant, deliver, and guarantee your plants for 2 years. I hope I don't end up like that old pickaxe. Ouch! Prevent yard tool abuse. Waters Garden Center. They plant, deliver, and guarantee.
And we have Lisa Waterslane back in the studio, and she comes in and just shares her thoughts, what's going on in her garden brain that she could share and just help us be better gardeners. So from your head to the microphone to our gardens, how can we be better? What's inspiring you? Mm-hmm. I think there's some value in hearing what other gardeners got going on. So welcome back in the studio.
Well, thank you. So this week I wanted to talk. So we've talked a lot in the past about using screens, trees to screen things with, shrubs, and they make wonderful screens. But sometimes you don't have that much space between, things that you're trying to screen, your house and a fence, or water meter, different things that you're trying to screen. So the option you can use, which a lot of people don't think about, but is terrific, is to put a trellis out there and get a vine growing on it.
Oh, sure.
Because that's not going to take up as much space width-wise. You can fit them in some of those tighter spaces, and it gives you that same feeling, that kind of, you're blocking off the neighbor, you're giving yourself a little secret garden look. So I thought we would talk about vines.
Vines, that's good. I had a customer come in a few days ago, brought a leaf, said, "What is this? It's growing at Yavapai College. Mm-hmm. It's growing up one of the buildings." And I went, "Well, that's Boston ivy." Well, it can't be. It's just growing up the wall. I went, "No, it's Boston ivy." I had to sell it going, "No, it's Boston ivy. Come look. Look, it's the same. What are you talking about?" Well, it doesn't climb up by itself, but it's a self-clinging vine that doesn't need anything, just climbs up the wall, and easy to care for, loves the sun, low water, low maintenance. It's just a great plant.
Yeah, there's a lot of great plants.
Great uses for vines. Right. They've also got at Yavapai College trumpet vine just as a ground cover.
Yeah, it looks
it's not climbing up anything. It just creeps along the ground. It's brilliant design.
Right. Yeah, vines are very, very versatile to use as ground covers or going up walls. A lot of uses for them that people just don't really even think about in the yard. We have a beautiful akebia that in our backyard that kind of goes up. We have a raised brick porch patio, and you put that on the back side to kind of cover that, and it's gorgeous.
Climbs up over the wall. Then we put an iron bench there. It climbs into the bench, and you can't see the bench anymore. No. It's just like covered. Just in akebia is just spectacular. It's like the whole yard is so vibrant and alive that the plants just take over small children and dogs and that sit in this bench, and it's really great. It's a comment.
We've lost a few children in there. No. But using vine for screens, so if you're going to want to grow up, a lot of people want them on a trellis, which especially if you're going to put it near the house. Yeah. Yes, you could have it grow on the house, but if you ever want to paint, you get some other issues. So using a trellis is a great way to train those vines. And the recommendation I have here in Prescott, Arizona, and the surrounding areas is use metal. Wood ones are going to deteriorate. They're going to break. Same with plastic. Plastic gets so brittle here, and after a couple of years, and with some weight with that vine on there, it's just going to deteriorate and break. Yeah. And then you got a whole other mess to deal with. The metals are going to hold up. You're not going to have to worry about them breaking down and deteriorating. So, and we have some gorgeous ones in all different sizes. So if we have 3 foot by 6 foot. We have some that go 6 by 6 foot. So there's all kinds of trellis that you can use to meet your needs in that area, whether it's narrow or wide, short, tall. We've got a lot in right now.
Amy just unloaded that truck of trellises. No, I thought she was crazy. Hundreds of them, every shape and size. And it's rusted. It's earth tone. It's our colors, natural colors in metals. But I really liked the arches.
Oh, yeah.
They came in the same panels, but they put a curve to them. And now those were really, this is what caught my eye.
Make a beautiful arbor. Definitely grow vines on those too. So some of the vines you should use, we should talk about that because there's all kinds that you can use. Climbing roses, absolutely gorgeous. You get lots of big, bold blooms off of them, and they come in reds and yellows and pinks and variegated. So definitely if you have a sunny spot, a climbing rose would be excellent to put in there.
Classic English garden kind of look. Yeah, that's the one you see on the front of magazines.
Absolutely gorgeous. Lots and lots of color. Wisteria. Which a lot of people surprise, we can grow wisteria here.
We are a 4-season climate. We're not the desert.
Right.
Yeah.
So yes, you can grow wisteria. And they're so beautiful with those purple blossoms hanging down in the spring. And I love the foliage of a wisteria, even without the blooms on it. It has a very soft textured foliage on it. Another really good vine for here is the trumpet vine. Great summer color there again with that great big orange flower. The Balboa Sunset is the one that we carry, and it's almost red orange. Just a much darker color to it.
Hummingbirds absolutely cannot resist trumpet vine. They just love it. It's like the best thing ever for them.
Right? Oh, yeah, they definitely do. And, of course, honeysuckle. That's kind of like everybody knows honeysuckle. And it's nice because it's an evergreen vine. So even in the wintertime, you've got some leaves on there. Beautiful smelling. You can't hardly beat that fragrance that comes off of there in the evenings or the early mornings. Really nice if you had a little secret garden area and you wanted that fragrance. That would be beautiful in there.
I don't think people realize how many varieties of honeysuckle there are.
It's crazy.
I mean, you just had a purple honeysuckle, which is basically the same Hall's honeysuckle, the one you grew up with as a kid, only now the foliage is purple. Yeah. It's really bright. I mean, just gorgeous. There's so many varieties.
There is. There's a gold flame. There's lemonade, wheeler eye, bunch of different colors in it. Definitely ones to check out. One of my favorites we've already kind of talked about was akebia. I just love it because it is so fast growing. I mean, if you want to cover something fast, put an akebia on it. It'll be smothered in no time at all.
That's true. It's pretty good. I like it, too. We experimented with that when we lived down in Skull Valley. Skull Valley, we were right on Kirkland Creek. It's right there. We planted an akebia in the orchard, and the elk did not bother it.
That's true.
The deer did not bother it. Javelina, everything was there.
Yeah.
Didn't bother it. So if you're in that wildland interface, you got a lot of pressure from the forest vermin. Akebia is a good way to go, and it's evergreen.
Nice to mix with the akebia is a clematis vine.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Because clematis, I mean, gorgeous flowers, but the vine itself is kind of a wimpy, but you mix it in with something else, and the blossoms just show up. They just pop with that color.
Interweave back and forth with the other vine. It's almost like a host that grows naturally with a different kind of vine, but has that flower that's like 6-8 inches across, different colors, long bloom cycle.
Definitely. So good one to mix with it. And then, of course, we mentioned the Boston ivy. You can do English ivy. If you have a shadier spot, the English ivy is good. And it's evergreen as well. It can get a little out of control. You got to keep your eye on it.
It's slow and methodical. It's like the Blob. In the 50s, that horror film. Oh, you can outrun it easily. Just don't stop.
Yeah, don't fall.
It keeps coming after you. It keeps growing.
It does.
Day and night.
It does. Virginia creeper is another one that I love because of the beautiful fall color that it gets onto it. It's just gorgeous in the fall. But nice, kind of a native vine for here.
It is native. In fact, I was hiking up in the Bradshaws last fall. Red color showing up underneath the junipers or oak or something. I forget where. It's a ground cover. Yeah. And it's Virginia creeper, just growing wild. So if you're a xeriscape or you want Firewise or something that's easy to grow, Virginia creeper is your plant. And it's got that brilliant red fall color throughout all of autumn.
Mm-hmm. The other one that I really like too is the Lady Banks rose. Only blooms in the spring, but it's a great evergreen thornless rose.
Great choices. So vine section, you've got an entire section of nothing but vines. Come peruse them all. Great suggestions, Lisa. Okay, Ken and Lisa Lane and the mountain gardeners or the vining gardeners. I'm not quite sure. Be right back.
The Mountain Gardener, your source for garden advice right for the higher elevation of Arizona with local garden experts and the mountain gardener himself, Ken Lane. Listen in every week for Ken's tips, tricks, and techniques that are guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season.
As the days get longer and brighter, houseplants can struggle and scorch, but we have the solution.
At Waters, we've organized our houseplants from A to Z for the brightest of sunny locations, many even bloom.
With experts that know plants and how to make them grow.
Shipments of the freshest houseplants in town have just arrived from A to Z and ready for a bright new home.
Waters Garden Center, where people who love bright green houseplants, they love to shop. Found in Prescott. New to the area with your dream home on the inside, but surrounded by boring? A castle surrounded by rock is just so bland. But we can help.
At Waters, we have a team of plant experts ready to dress up and decorate even the most boring of landscapes with something fresh, new, and evergreen.
Plus, we deliver and plant for you.
Designer plants with the experts to help you beautify your new abode.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott. There's a transition going on in the landscapes, in the neighborhoods, in the throughout the communities, whether it's a park, a school, or your backyard. We've been in bloom since March. So March, April, May, June. Now we're into June. So for the last spring season, lilacs and forsythia, flowering quince, and all the crabapples and the magnolias and things have been in bloom, just waves pulsating through in bloom. The pansies have just been spectacular. Oh, beautiful. But now those things are faded. Most of your spring blooming shrubs, they're now starting to turn green. They're pretty, but they're not in bloom, and the fragrance is long gone. Right now, you're seeing a transition, and roses seem to be that bridge that goes from spring blooming shrubs to summer blooming shrubs. When you see all the roses in bloom, you're going, oh, this is the swing when we move from spring bloomers to summer bloomers. In another couple weeks, I'm seeing the buds on my Crepe Myrtles, Rose of Sharons. There's a whole series, Spireas, Viburnums. There's a whole series of plants that loves blooming in the heat. Desert Willow is a native. Glorious blooms. The brooms, that's another one that there's a yellow blooming shrub out there right now that's just magnificent, super fragrant. A native. That's a summer bloomer. It wants it to be at least 80 degrees out before it will bloom, and it would prefer it to be 90 degrees out. These plants love everything about hot days, warm soil. They even want the evenings to be on the pleasant side of warm. So they like the heat. And so you need to plant those things when it's hotter. They prefer being planted when it's hotter outside. So there's some new crepe myrtles. You wouldn't think they would grow here in Arizona. It's kind of a surprise, but there's some hardy varieties that do exceptionally well. I would say another one to look at. You're going to see Russian sage, this spiky blue shrub starting to bloom. It's heavily budded, at least in my yard right now. It's starting to bloom at the lower elevations. It's already in blue. It stands about hip high or so. There's some new varieties that are dwarfed versions. So lacy blue, just look for dwarf Russian sage. There's several names. I honestly can't tell the difference between them all, but there's regular Russian sage and dwarfed Russian sage. If it has a name going icy blue Russian sage, it's probably a newer dwarfed variety, and they much prefer being planted in the summer. They would rather be planted now, even if it's 90. They'd rather be planted later in June when it's really hot. They'd rather do that than to be planted in the spring season when it's still cold at night. There's a whole series of plants, and you're seeing your garden centers right now making the switch. So already here, at least here at Waters Garden Center, we don't have, I think I have one variety of forsythia. During the peak, I had 4. I had probably a dozen varieties of lilacs available, every color, fragrance, size. Now I've got maybe 5 or 6. I mean, we still have them, but once they lose that bloom, they just aren't as appealing. And so you have to be really purposeful. I want a lilac because my grandmother had one. I remember smelling it out the bedroom window, and there's memories, or you just know what it is, or you saw your neighbors blooming 2 months ago, and your house is finally built, and now you can now plant one. It's for those. Otherwise, you're coming and going for potentilla or potentella if you're from the Midwest. It's a short little shrub, about knee high or so. Perfect ball. It takes no maintenance, no pruning, no grooming. Once it's rooted, it's very tough. Beautiful little yellow flowers the size of a quarter, about 5 or 6 petals on each flower. It's just covered, and it starts blooming now when it's about 80 degrees, and it doesn't stop until fall. It's spectacular. It's every yard should have at least one potentilla. Just because it's so easy to care for, there's no pruning or maintain. It's low on water. It loves bright sun. Animals, javelina, rabbits, deer, they absolutely do not like potentilla. And so it's a great summer plant, and it prefers to be planted in the summer because the soil is warm. It will root out. It just feels toasty. It just likes that. If your plants have not woken up yet, if you've got some plants out in the yard, let's say it's a desert willow. It's a classic native, loves the summer. A chase tree, a classic tall shrub or short tree up to about 10 feet with blue spikes all over the top of it. Classic northern Arizona plant. If it hasn't woken up yet, I mean, I know it likes summer, but if it doesn't have foliage on it now, I think at this point you got to call it and go, that plant is dead. It ain't coming back. And so it's probable if you've got some plants out there in the yard that I know this frustrates you gardeners going, no, I can bring it back. I won't. I'll try it for years. You can try it for years. It probably still isn't going to come back. If it was going to leaf out or flower at this point, it would already have foliage on it. And if it does leaf out, it is so stressed out, it will take years for it to recover. So it's probably time to go chainsaw or just pull it out. And it's probably because the warm winter and the lack of moisture caused that death in your landscape. So we're seeing quite a bit of that. It's not just your yard. We're seeing that throughout northern Arizona. It's because it was so dry and so warm, unusually warm. And so you saw some of that. Another one that I've had just quite a number of customers this week. They're Leyland Cypress. This is a very tall evergreen, fast growing, up to about 20 feet by 12 foot wide, rich green, just solid green. Takes our sun, takes our wind. This thing has been a go-to plant until last year. There's a disease going through Leyland Cypress. We're predicting at this point that every Leyland Cypress in the county, at least in Yavapai County, will be dead within 5 years. It's just progressing so quickly through that crop, through that monoculture. So only that variety. No, it doesn't affect any other plant. Just Leyland Cypress gets this canker. It's a plant disease that it's a bacteria that just feeds off the sugar and it festers, and the inside of that cypress will start to turn yellow. No matter how much water or what you give it or what you do, it just turns yellow, and then it creeps down the line. Many of these cypress, we set them up as privacy screens or windbreaks. They were just so good for the mountains of Arizona until now. We stopped selling them last year, so it just got so bad. And we were fearful that it might be the case. We have no cure for this canker. So we no longer sell them at least at Waters Garden Center. And you should be questioning the nursery. If you find your nursery in your town sells Leyland Cypress, I would question whether you should be shopping there. They are not doing you a service, or that plant will be dead within 4 to 5 years. It'll collapse. And so we're replacing those with Arizona cypress. There's a native of that same plant. It's blue instead of green, but exact same dimensions, same size, same everything, except it doesn't get the canker. No diseases. Nothing bothers it. So we like the Arizona cypress, and then it naturalizes. Once you get it up to size, you can let it go on its own. Also, a lot of the junipers, the new varieties like Wichita Blue, Spartan junipers, Blue Arrow. There's many new varieties of junipers that don't have the pollen or allergy issues, but they're robust. They don't have this disease. They grow fast. They're consistent. They're evergreen. They're thick. Of course, we're surrounded in northern Arizona by juniper forests, so you know that a juniper hedgerow or privacy screen or windbreak is going to do quite well. And there's some Italian cypress. That's a classic for you California folks. There's a bunch of varieties, but be aware that if your Leyland Cypress is turning yellow, I hate to tell you this, but it's doomed. There's no cure. I can't sell you a magic potion that will have it come back and be healthy. Sorry to tell you that. Be right back, though, with more good news about gardens in northern Arizona.
The Mountain Gardener, your source for garden advice right for the higher elevation of Arizona, with local garden expert and the Mountain Gardener himself, Ken Lane. Listen in every week for Ken's tips, tricks, and techniques that are guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season.
Hi, Lisa with the plants of the week and our tiger eye sumac.
You can't kill this native plant, and it's so fancy.
Chartreuse foliage quickly develops into lacy yellow leaves, which contrast nicely with the posy pink stems. All this turns the color of orange peels through autumn.
A dramatic focal point when planted as an accent at the edge of ponds and dry creek beds, all for just $39.
Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road in Prescott, where people who love fancy native plants love to shop. I grew up in the family business with my 3 sisters, and I've raised 4 of my own kids in the same garden center. Waters isn't just another business in town. This is part of our home, an extension of who we are. My family spends more time here than we do at home. It's basically an extension of our living room. We just have more friends over than most. My name is Lisa Waters Lane, and you'll feel welcomed, peaceful, and at home here at Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road, here in Prescott.
You're listening to The Mountain Gardener with local expert Ken Lane. Mountain gardening can be challenging, but with Ken's tips, tricks, and garden advice, you'll reap huge rewards. Now welcome back to The Mountain Gardener.
Now, I did just post on our company's Instagram account. In fact, if you want to know what our yard looks like, if you want to tour the Lane Casa and just walk through the gardens, follow our Instagram account. Not my personal one. I've got a Ken Lane Instagram. It's not as interesting, but more pictures of my kids. But the Waters Garden Center AZ Instagram account, I take pictures as I stroll through our backyard. This week it was gardenias opened up. So I've grown gardenia. There's a hardy gardenia. Yes, it's the one you remember as a kid that was so fragrant. It's that one. That one is in bloom right now. It comes back every year for us, and it just fills the front patio up with this wonderful fragrance. Oh, it's so nice. It is so easy to grow. It'll grow in the yard, grow in the container, wherever you want. Just make sure you keep gardenias out of that midday sun. It doesn't like the heat. It doesn't like to be 90 degrees, at noon. It doesn't mind morning sun, doesn't mind afternoon sun. Mine's in a direct west-facing garden. Perfectly fine. Loves it there. Thrives. That's another summer-blooming, shade-loving plant. Another one I have that's starting to crack buds, starting to flush new growth, are hydrangeas. Did you know you can grow hydrangeas here in northern Arizona? Not all of them, but there are some very hardy varieties that do quite well. And I find the pinker varieties do better than the blue varieties, just because our alkaline water tends to turn the blue ones pink anyway. If you're going to struggle that way, just go all in with pink. and they just do great in the shade. If they get an hour's worth of midday sun, they're wilting, going, "I'm so dry, help me, please." But in the shade, they love it. So the north side of your house, under the canopy of trees, they'll take morning sun. They just don't want to be in that midday sun. And so those are some summer blooming plants that love the shaded areas of your gardens. Now we are coming up. I just set up. I think I'm going to try to get in there right now. We've got the garden classes are starting. Is that next week? No, June 16th. I'm going to start the summer season classes. They're free garden classes every Saturday at 9:30. We've been doing these for decades. The very first one I am going to personally teach is Fire-Wise landscaping. Beautiful and safe. Yes, you can have that. You do not need to clear out, cut down every tree in your yard, every shrub, and nothing but rock. We can have beauty. We just have to create islands. We have to create this oasis effect. We're using the lusher, more wet stuff close. And then as you get further out, as you fan out away from the house, you create islands of native stuff that burns faster. And we'll go over what burns, what doesn't. What if you look at it wrong, it will go up in flames, or this one actually mitigates flames. It'll actually bring it right from the rooftops down to the ground. And so we'll go over all of that. That's June 16th. How to have a Fire-Wise landscape. We all need to think in those terms. June 26th, I've got my crew teaching landscapes that add beauty and value. If you're actually going to create a space that you just want to relax in, this is the class for you. And then also, if you're thinking about staging or selling your house, this is the one, because the people, your buyer is going to remember the one that has beauty, that beautiful hedgerow or roses in bloom or whatever it was. We're going to go over how to add beauty. And then June 30th, the last Saturday in June, it's totally tomatoes. Grow the best. How to get the most harvest. So tomatoes are going in the ground right now, but this class will be, okay, they're in. Here's what to do to really get them to grow fast. Then bird gardening, then pollinators, and growing grapes in the gardens, containers, perennial flowers, easy growing. So that class schedule is up on watersgardencenter.com. Take a look, and all the classes are free, available, and ready for just to make you a better gardener in the mountains of Arizona.
The Mountain Gardener, your source for garden advice right for the higher elevation of Arizona, with local garden expert and the mountain gardener himself, Ken Lane. Listen in every week for Ken's tips, tricks, and techniques that are guaranteed to make a difference in your yard this season.
I used to be cocky and actually dared to beat the big boxes at their own game. Since the beginning, we were known for the very best plants in town. But with youthful ambition, we added a line of inferior plants, contractor grade, that matched the box stores and beat their prices. We failed miserably. The plants were side by side. Water's hand-picked quality at the higher price and the inferior plants at the lower price, with astounding results. The inferior plants, not bad quality, just not full and nice, were still there a month later. The hand-picked quality plants, they had been restocked twice and the bench was empty again. The youthful cockiness, it's tempered, and with age comes wisdom and knowing who you really are. Waters Garden Center doesn't compete with the marts and the boxes. We simply grow the very best plants our family is famous for. We will never offer inferior plants. Cross my heart. Pinky swear. Waters Garden Center, 1815 Iron Springs Road, here in Prescott.
You've been listening to local garden expert Ken Lane, the owner of Waters Garden Center in Prescott. Join him each week as he answers timely garden questions unique to the area. He can be found throughout the week at Waters Garden Center, located in Prescott at 1815 Iron Springs Road. Thanks for tuning in to The Mountain Gardener.